Welcome to our show, Casa y Vida Houston on CBBA Radio. As always, we want to start off with our sponsors, acknowledge our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Susie Condelopoulos. She is a loan officer with Gateway Mortgage. And if you're looking to buy a home or to refinance, give her a call at 281-250-2696. She is bilingual and she has many years of experience. Our next sponsor is Texas Low Cost Insurance Agency. They specialize in homeowners insurance. So if you need homeowners insurance, doesn't matter where you live in Houston or even in Texas, give them a call at 281-941-2863. All right, moving on. We are going to have two wonderful guests today for our show, and a little bit later on, we're going to have Rob Arteaga with Curando Amores. He is a marriage counselor. We're also going to have Yvette Mayo with Power on Heels. Wonderful, wonderful, powerful woman. We're going to be talking to her in a little bit. But before, as always, we want to start off talking about real estate. So want to give you a few little tips on real estate. What I want to talk today about here specifically is about what happens when you buy a home. What happens from the time you get into contract to buy a home and the day that you close. I know that oftentimes people will ask me, well, if I got the pre-approval like 3 months ago, now I picked a home, why does it take 30 to 45 days to close? And they get frustrated because not only does it take 30 or 45 days to close, but the lender continues to ask for documents, and they're asking for more signatures, they're asking for questions, for explanations on different items, and so it becomes a little bit frustrating. So the best way that I can explain it is by using an example of a client. I have a client that closed on a house last month. But she got approved a year and a half ago. And when she got that pre-approval, we got her the pre-approval. We're ready to show her homes, but she stopped calling. She didn't call us anymore. We tried calling her, and she never looked for a house. Again, in December, she reapplied. We renewed her update. Same thing. She wasn't ready to look. It wasn't until about 4 months ago that she comes back again, and she's ready to look for a home. So see, that's why, we don't, or rather the loan officers don't do all the work before you actually have a home, because many people that apply for a loan don't go through with the process. The other thing that people ask is, why is it that there's so many deadlines, or why are we rushing them to get things? And the thing is that there's deadlines on every contract, and we want to make sure that you get everything on time so that we're never exposing your earnest money. Okay, so we've got to meet, there's a deadline to do the inspection, there's a deadline for you to finalize your loan approval, and so that's very important. We're always keeping track of those deadlines, and that's why sometimes once you're in a contract, we're rushing you to sign something. The lender will send you something, then I as a realtor will call you again, hey, have you gotten it, sign it, send it in. So we kind of rush you a little bit because we are looking out for you. We don't want you to lose your money. The other thing is that people always ask, then if you're in such a hurry, why don't you order everything up front, right? We need to get inspections, appraisal, survey. Why don't you order everything as soon as you get the contract? Well, again, we do it for your best interest because everything's going to cost you money up front. So we will order the inspection, and until we're satisfied with the inspection report, with the repairs, which you've paid for, you're going to pay about $300 to $400 for an inspection, depending on the size of the home. And so we want to get that out of the way before we have you make the expense for an appraisal. And the same thing, when that appraisal comes in, we want to make sure that that home is going to appraise for that value before we have you pay for the survey, which is another $400. So the appraisal, the survey, everything costs you $400 or $500. And so by the time you're closing, by the time of the closing day, you've already paid $1,000, $1,500 to $2,000 out of your own pocket. So we don't want to order anything until we feel comfortable that the loan is going to close. Okay, so that's the main thing, and those questions came up, with my last customer. She was wondering about those things, so I thought that I'd tell you that that's the main thing, is that you've got to understand that there's a long process. There are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes in a loan, and so you just have to trust the professionals and trust that we're doing what we know how to do best, and that we're always looking out for your interests. Okay, so I hope those few tips help you. And of course, if you're looking to buy or to sell a home, make sure that you call me. You can always find me on Facebook as Liz Miranda Realtor or Liz Miranda Miranda Properties. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. I want to welcome our co-host for our next segment, and our co-host is Sonia Rivera.
Thank you, Liz. Glad to be here again.
And Sonia, we are going to have a couple of guests on today, and let's check with our producer to see if we have our person ready. Yes, we do. Okay, so Sonia, would you go ahead and introduce our first guest?
Sure, Liz. Thank you. So today we'd like to welcome Rob Arteaga, as Liz mentioned earlier. He is a licensed counselor, and he's also the host of an online radio show called Curando Amores. And Rob is a wonderful individual. He's fun to hang out with, and I really enjoyed getting to know him. So that said, I know that he's also a fantastic counselor, so I've picked his brain several times on numerous topics. So welcome, Rob.
Welcome, Rob. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for having me, ladies.
So you want to put your headsets? We need our headsets for this. So awesome. Rob, I've seen you many times on online. I've seen you in Facebook, and I can hear something in the background. Is that you?
No, that's not me.
Okay, I think it's fading out. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I apologize. We're kind of new to this. Okay, well, Rob, yes, I've had the pleasure of seeing you on television. I know you often collaborate with Univision, Telemundo, and all these different media outlets that are always having you on as a relationship expert. So we are super honored to have you with us today.
It's a pleasure to be with you, ladies.
You're very welcome. So our topic that we asked to talk about today was about healthy relationships. What can you tell us as far as, first of all, what do we mean by a healthy relationship? How would you define that?
Well, one of the things I can start off with is because I work with couples every day, all day, I am quickly wanting to decipher if they're unhealthy. So let me start off with that first, because I think that as a counselor, when I'm working with a couple, I want to quickly get to the bottom of things as soon as possible, so that I know that I'm what I'm working with. So when I know that there is something like physical abuse, infidelities, or things like addictions, that's automatically an unhealthy relationship with that I can kind of red flag, and that tells me a lot of information that that I know will help me in the process of working with a couple. Now, to identify a healthy relationship, one of the things that I'm looking for is that there's mutual respect. Now, what does mutual respect mean? Mutual respect means that we can talk about problems, that we can solve problems, that that we can demonstrate to learn how to accept a no. If my partner tells me no for whatever reason, that is respected. I'm looking for that they put themselves as the marriage in a priority. I'm looking that they spend time together, not just with family. Those are the types of things that I look for when I'm evaluating or how to identify a healthy relationship.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Well, Rob, we're going to have to ask you to hold on because we actually need to go to a small commercial break, but you stay there, please, okay? We'll be right back. So everyone, we'll be right back after this brief minute. Well, welcome back, Houston, to Casa, Vida, Houston, and we are talking to Rob Arteaga. He is a marriage counselor, and we're talking about healthy relationships. So he was telling us a little bit about what, he defines as a healthy relationship. And so any other points that you want to make about a healthy relationship, Rob?
No, I think I covered most of the bases.
Okay. Well, now tell us about, and then we talked a little bit about what makes an unhealthy relationship, right? So some of those are pretty obvious, of course, like, abuse, or I would imagine infidelity. What else can you talk to us about that would be considered an unhealthy relationship?
Well, one of the most common things that I notice when I see couples in a session is that there is always like a theme of selfishness. When what I mean by selfishness is that it's like the theme of the problems is like I'm more important than you, or I matter more than you, or I'm not getting my needs fulfilled, and your needs don't matter. So that's one of the most common types of problems that I see in a couple, and it tends to permeate a lot of problems. So what does that mean? That means like one of the common problems that I see is when there's a partner that works in traveling. There's travel involved, whether they're an executive or they are drive a truck, and they're not home. Well, it's very difficult to feed the relationship when you're just not physically there. So it turns into an issue of like, I'm doing this because it's my duty as my partner or as a man in the relationship, and you're not understanding that this needs that this is my job and my responsibility. So they never listen to the other part of the equation, which is another person that is there waiting for them, that needs time and attention in order to be better fulfilled and reduce the problems in the relationship.
Hey Rob, so recently I heard something a little bit different, and it was related to feminine energy and masculine energy. What does that really mean? What exactly does that apply to?
I don't really get into energies because it just you tend to get into a mess of things that you just can't work with. So what I tend to look at it more as in masculine and feminine behaviors, because behaviors I can see, behaviors I can tell you whether they work or whether they don't. This idea of like energies is not something that is easily to as workable. So what do I mean by feminine and masculine behaviors? Well, I look at traditional values in terms of what the man and the woman is expected to be at home. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm super strict about that. I'm not a machista and I'm not a feminist. I put the family first. That means that I push for family unity, and the masculine and feminine type of roles are to support each other with respect, not in the sense where there was disrespect in the past. For example, in the Latino culture, where the strong man was just having his way in a relationship without any kind of accountability or respect towards the other person.
So you don't necessarily believe that. I guess that it has to be that way, that the man is the head of the household and the woman, or rather, yeah, that he's the head and that she's a housewife. I mean, can that be a healthy relationship? I guess if people view it that way still, the old-fashioned way.
I believe that it can be a healthy way to look at it as long as there's mutual respect. Mutual respect means that I don't just take random decisions that affect both of the people in the relationship without any consideration. Respect means that I talk to my partner, that if there's a decision that is going to involve both of our finances and our family, that we agree on it together. So even though I support like traditional views, I see it with a bit of a tweak in terms of being respectful towards the other partner, because that is what works. That is what helps feed the relationship. And I'm always thinking in terms of, is this going to hurt or feed the relationship? And if we think about it that way, then we usually have a more satisfied and longer lasting relationship that can solve problems as hard as they may be.
What about communication styles, Rob? Because men and women obviously have different communication styles, as well as hearing information a little bit differently. How does that impact a relationship?
Well, I can. One of the things that I hear the most is that like communication is key, but we never hear of what that means, and how does it look like? What is healthy relationships or healthy marriages? How do they communicate? Well, one of the things that I tell couples is that um, men and different think about problems in a different way. For example, say there was just an infidelity in the relationship, and the man was the one that was at fault. Well, it becomes there's a dynamic with women where they need certain information in terms of kind of like closing that problem and moving forward. So let's say that they decide to stay together, but the woman just kind of keeps asking questions in terms of what happened in the infidelity. Well, the man just kind of, whenever the man sees emotion, it's like he disconnects. Men think of problem solution, and the man will tend to do something like, "Well, just stop thinking about that." And women just don't work that way. We as guys, we can just not think about a problem and move on with our day. So what I tell men is that it's kind of like, imagine a guy during his day, if he sees an attractive woman. Well, that woman, that image of the woman will kind of just pop up randomly without any kind of conscious effort in the man's mind throughout the day. That just tends to happen. What I tell guys is that the same thing happens with women, but with problems that are unresolved. They may be having a good time, but all of a sudden that problem will pop up again, and it'll just wreak havoc in the relationship if they can't communicate in a healthy way. So what I tell them is, if you don't give them information about that problem so that they can kind of close that part of the problem, then this stuff will keep coming up. So what healthy what healthy communication looks like to me is that those kinds of issues can be talked about without kind of like repercussions in a way, in order to move past problems as bad as infidelities and others.
So the truth is then that certainly women and men and women do think differently. Isn't that correct? And I guess in order to get along, we have to understand how the other person, the other sex thinks. In a
Sure.
way.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay, absolutely. Well, what about this example, the first example you gave us of maybe someone, maybe a man who has to travel out of town all the time, um, and he's not home all the time, and maybe the woman gets mad because she's been sitting there waiting for him. I mean, not sitting, but you know what I mean, waiting for him because he's never there. What kind of a solution could be found to something like that?
Well, I tell couples to be realistic. If, for example, one of the common problems in guys is that women will sometimes be very explicit with what they want and what they need in a relationship, but the common problem is guys is that we'll have too thick of a skull to listen to the partner. So in the worst case scenario, what I tell them is the marriage comes first. If the marriage does not come first, then everything else will be off. So the worst case scenario in terms of if the partner doesn't listen is that they'll break up. So what I tell them is, okay, right now you're putting your job as number one, not the marriage. So I would prefer, if you're going to live out your family values, to put the marriage first and find a job that doesn't have you as far away from the partner, so that you could put the marriage first.
Rob, we live in such a fast-paced world. There are so many different things that we experience every day. I mean, there's just constant flashes of we have friends and work and family and responsibilities and children and so on. And social media, how do all of these things impact a relationship? And I guess let's talk specifically about the social media. What impact have you seen social media to have on relationships?
I've seen maybe in the past 5 years, couples complain more and more of he's always on the phone, she's always on the phone, or the other thing that comes up is, yeah, she goes through my phone, he goes through my phone a lot. So the way that I see it is the marriage comes first. So if we put that applied to the social media issue, what that means is that let's say I'm on my phone and my partner is trying to tell me something, well, if I keep looking at my phone and not even make eye contact, the message that I'm sending is the phone is first, not my partner. So what I would tell that person is that you have to what I would recommend is that you give your partner the priority when they are trying to make contact with you, when they're trying to communicate with you, with turning, looking them at the face and answering whatever they're saying, because that sends the message, you're important to me. What you're saying is of value to me, and I want to do my best to please you.
Yeah, I think that all has to do. It's almost the same with friendships, right? In other words, I think that it's becoming social media has become an issue that people tend to ignore just other people. You know, even when you're around friends and you go out to dinner with a friend and they're on their phone instead of talking to you. And I find that offensive, and it bothers me. So certainly when it's my partner that's doing that, yeah, it's not acceptable either.
What about posting on social media, Rob? What about putting relationship issues on social media? Because I have seen that on occasion where one or the other negatively is posting something about the other one.
Well, what I would say to that is that I have certain rules that I just see that work, that what I call them tools. I'm gonna put a bunch of tools on the table for you guys, but it's up to you guys to use them in order to have a better relationship. So the rule with that would be, if you involve third parties into the relationship's problems, that usually creates a mess. So usually on the postings are like indirect messages or complaints about the relationship. All that's doing is inviting problems into the relationship that are unnecessary. So there's probably a communication issue where they haven't been able to resolve common problems, and it's stemming into the social media realm whenever I see that. I would also say that it's not very common that I get that kind of an issue in terms of social media. It's more of like the use. The problem in general is more of they spend too much time on it rather than the postings.
But
All
if
right.
I do see the posting, I'll refer them to you.
Thank you. All right. Well, Rob, thank you so much. We've run out of time. That was pretty quick, huh? We run out of time, but we certainly appreciate you being on our show, and we hope it's not the last time. But I do want to talk about you have a show, a radio show, is it? Can you tell us a little bit about that for anyone who wants to find you and listen to your show, please? It's Curando
Sure.
Amores.
Folks can find me on social media with the hashtag Curando Amores. It's a podcast, so it's basically an online audio show that they can download with either iTunes or if you're an Android, something like Pocket Casts. They could just look for Curando Amores, and they'll find a pretty big directory of shows that I have there.
Yes, and
But
you I was
if
going
you
to say,
just
and YouTube also. Go ahead.
I'm also on YouTube, so if you just put on Google hashtag Curando Amores, they'll find my information there, and it'll get them to Facebook, to YouTube, and any other postings that I've made.
Yes, yes, absolutely, guys. He has some incredible videos out there on, said Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. It's Curando Amores or Rob Arteaga, and you will be definitely getting some great information. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rob. We greatly appreciate you again.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, ladies.
All right, everyone. Well, we're going to be cutting to a commercial, and we will be right back with you with our next guest. Welcome back to Casa y Vida Houston on CBBA Radio. And Sonia, would you introduce our next guest, please?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to introduce Yvette Mayo today. Thank you so much, Yvette, for agreeing to be on the show. So happy to have you here. I love picking your brain. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. We are so honored to have you here. And for those of you that don't know about Yvette, by the way, she is a Latina entrepreneur. She's a speaker. She's a business success coach, a consultant. She's also the founder of Power on Heels Network. And she's the author of a book called A 30-Day Guide to Your Power. So that is awesome. We are so happy to have you here. And we're going to be talking about using your power, right? Absolutely.
Our power.
But before we do that, let's talk about a giveaway. She's going to be giving away a book. So what we want is for you to please share our video, comment below here, below our video, and put the hashtag. What is the hashtag?
Hashtag I am Power on Heels.
hashtag I am power on heels. Okay, so do that, and then what we'll do is we will later today or tomorrow, we'll go ahead and look at everybody who's commented, and then we will give the book away live on Facebook, of course.
Awesome.
All right. Okay then, well, let's go ahead and get started. Tell us, Yvette, what do we mean when you talk about using your power? Tell us a little bit about what we're talking about.
Well, I think for every woman out there who's listening, and men, we're not going to divide you out, but I think we're working in a very multi-task world. It's so common when somebody says, "What are you doing?" You're saying, "Oh, I'm busy." So I want to change your language and say that, you know what? Busy, it sounds like negative energy. It's chaos. You're just handling and reacting to things. And so to me, when I talk to these powerpreneurs that are out there and these people who are out there multitasking, I want you to change your language to saying, I am being productive or I'm harvesting. Because think about it, you've put in effort over time, these seeds. And now they're coming into fruition. They're growing. So now you're grabbing them and you're doing something productive with them. Because everything is energy, right? So what you say is what becomes. And so if you're busy, that means chaos. And one of the reasons I say that's important to acknowledge and to change is because our power is our ability to do the things that we desire to do, to use our gifts in the right way, to really work towards our purpose, to be productive in our business, to be productive in our lives. And when you're busy, that's a big takeaway. So when we give away our power, that means that you're doing something that is not in your purpose, that is not growing you, that is not growing your business. And your power is staying in that lane. So when I talk about your power, I want to talk about who you are at your best.
Okay. Now you mentioned something about giving away your power. Do we give away our power sometimes?
Every day. We defer our power in so many places. We defer our powers in our home. We defer our power at the workplace, in our community. And let me just share where it happens. Hey, Liz, can you do this? You know, we need a volunteer to bring cupcakes to school tomorrow. And and you say, "Oh, yes." Because we don't know how to say no. So for our bilingual audience out there, I want you to say no in English, and I want you to say no in Spanish to prove to yourself that you can say no. And what happens is that many times when we're giving away our power, we're doing things that take away our time, that take away from the things that we need to be doing. We're being reactive to other people's needs. So why is that important to recognize? It's because simply when we're doing things for others that take away from our purpose, then we're losing our ability to be who we are at our best.
I have to admit that I think that's when I remember I took control of my life was when I learned to say no. Of course, I read the book,
Yeah.
Learn how to say no,
Yeah.
no instead of yes. And it was so refreshing to me to just say, hey, you know what, I can say no. And I honestly had to practice saying no because, we can't be impolite.
Yeah.
But I had to practice and learn that it was okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, speaking of power, I did want to mention that Eva is the CEO of Yo Soy I Am, a professional development firm, as well as a creator of Yo Soy Expressions, a Latina-inspired line of stationery. She's the founder of Power on Heels, a digital platform empowering and supporting women to achieve their vision of success. So the reason why I bring this up and talking about giving away your power, you are in a very powerful position across the board. You travel all over the country hearing women's stories. And what do you think that we have in common?
I think it goes back to the fact that we are nurtured and trained and put in a position to always serve others. And when we serve others, we don't give enough room to serve ourselves. And so we make everything a priority. Our boss, our husbands, our children, our community, our family, but we don't put ourselves in a place of importance. And I'm just telling you, I have a saying at my house, and all of you are welcome to adapt it. If La Reina's not happy, nobody's happy. And the reason is because everything stems from them or stems from you. And so if you're not right with yourself and you're not whole, meaning you're not healthy, that you've taken time to rest, that you are investing in yourself, you're reading, you're taking a massage, you're doing all those things and not feeling guilty about it, because that's the other word, then what happens is that you can't serve others at the best of your ability. So if you are stretching yourself in your community and stretching yourself at work or stretching yourself in all these places, the thing I'm saying to you right now is you need to stop, reorganize your life, and realize that everything starts with you. Do something for yourself and not feel bad about it. And that happens at all levels, the CEO level, the C-suite, the executive, the entrepreneur, the stay-at-home mom. We are investing all our energy and time into others and not into ourselves.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
No, and I was just going to say, it goes to that saying that if you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of it. You can't take care of
Think
others.
about it. On the airplane, what happens? What's the first thing they say? In the case of an emergency, when that mask drops down, what's the first thing they tell you? Put it on yourself, then help someone else.
Sure.
So take that metaphor into your life. Take care of you so you can take care of others.
Yeah, and as women, oftentimes we don't do that. We don't take care of. We always think about taking care of people, and we forget to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Now, do you feel that that's just a woman thing, or more of a Latina thing, or both?
No, I think it's across the board. I think on the Latina side, because I'm really embedded in the Latina community. I love my hermanas. I want to empower them to be just great, just poderosas, guerreras poderosas. But one of the things that I think culturally, that's something that we hear a lot in our culture. And then when we run into difficulties in our lives, we're always told not to share, not to hide our emotions, to not publicly display these things, that we deal with things at home. And then at home, we're not equipped to really deal with the challenges that we have, so nothing ever gets taken care of. So as a Latina, we're always told you'll feel better if you're doing something for others. And so there's truth to that, but at the same time, we're not perfecting who we are.
What inspires you, Yvette? What is it that inspired this whole movement that you've started? I mean, it's really fabulous. The book is fabulous, and the coaching and everything that you do is very impactful. And so what inspired you to start it and to keep going?
Well, I want to share with all of you, and I think maybe you, hopefully you can empathize with this. No one told me that I can be an entrepreneur. No one ever told me that I was going to write a book or that I even could. That wasn't something that was brought into my circle. And one of the things that I realized is that there's a lot of limited thoughts out there and a lot of limited beliefs in terms of who we are and who we can be. It's okay to get a job and work there for 40 years and retire, but that didn't work for me. That wasn't the mindset that I developed for myself. And I'm finding there's a lot of women out there who are looking to go out of that normal realm that their families and society has set for them. But there was never, I never found that opportunity where I saw people pushing and how can I say this, investing in these women. And when I would have conversations with women after after teaching or after speaking on stage, they would come to me and they said, I've never heard anyone speak or say what you said. I wish somebody would say that to me 10 years ago. So I started finding this void, and I realized that I went through that same cycle, and there were other women going through the need to see more than who we were. So long and short of it, the coaching about empowering women, creating businesses, successful businesses, taking products to the market, I realized that I had an edge because I experienced that. So I took that opportunity to bring that into my business so I can help women to become more and more powerful. And so the Power on Heels became another place where we continue to inspire, empower, and support women each and every day so they can be more powerful. So it's just become something that drives me because I know I experienced it, and I know that there's other women out there who need to hear that they are powerful each and every day and who they are.
Awesome. Now, what about, do you find that some people maybe have never found their power, or maybe they had the power and they lost it?
I think there's the word fear comes into place. I think they know that they want something more, but they're scared to take that step. You know, taking a risk is not something that is taught to us. How about this? They're making the power of choice. Some of them haven't had to make choices in their lives that will take them completely out of their normal space. We see that in women who are in relationships that after 20 years don't function, but they stay in it another 20 years and they get worse. Well, you had the ability to make a choice to leave, but you stayed because you didn't know what you didn't want to take the risk, or you didn't want to make the choice. So in order for women to get out of this space and to get into a place of power, the first thing you have to do is know that fear is something that is fleeting. You will feel fear in the beginning, but it will be replaced with other emotions, excitement, anticipation of something new. And then you have to exercise the power of choice, and you have to stand behind it. If you want it, you need to own it and step forward in faith and knowing that it is for you. Because you know what? Everything that we've ever set out to do, we've achieved it. We achieve it, but it started with choice.
Well, that's very, very awesome. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to take a short break right now, and then we'll be right back with Yvette. Well, welcome back to Casa, Vida Houston on CBBA Radio, and we are talking to Yvette Mayo. And I want to remind you that she is giving away this book. So please share our video, our link, share it to your page, to any page that you belong to, any groups, and please put the hashtag. What is the hashtag again?
I am Power on Heels.
All right, I am Power on Heels. Put the hashtag, please, and we will pick a winner. We'll do the drawing tomorrow on our Facebook page. All right, so Yvette, you were talking to us about using your power, finding your power. Tell us how we can go about doing that.
Well, one thing, Sonia asked me before, how did I bring all this together? And I think the book was one of those places where I decided. So it's called The 30-Day Guide to Your Power, Powerful Outcomes Through Powerful Words. And so what we have to do is we have to choose a different language for ourselves. Who we are now is not who we were back in our 20s, 30s, or 40s. And I'll be 56, so trust me, I've transcended through all these phases as well. But my truth then is not my truth now. And then there was also limited beliefs that someone had told me about me that I believed, but I know now that they were never true. So in order to replace those thoughts and those beliefs, I had to create a new language for myself and a new belief system, because remember, it starts with you. So the 30-day guide is really a habit has to change for 30 days consecutively for it to create a new habit or a new behavior. So in order to just deprogram you from decades of negative energy, negative thoughts, inherited beliefs, this is a way that we can start. And it starts by what you say about yourself each and every day for 30 days. It's a simple plan, but the thing is that we apply plans to our careers and our businesses, but we don't apply a plan to our personal growth. And then remember, you have to do this for 30 days. So each and every day it starts with an opportunity for you to break away from the chaos of your life, the busyness of your day, to have a little time with yourself, a daily mantra, what I call an affirmation, and then also creating a statement, which is an attitude, which will elevate you each and every day to become stronger and more powerful. And that needs to happen because, see, for you to be successful, you have to have a plan. And it starts with what you say, because ultimately what you say changes what you think, what you feel, but ultimately the most powerful component is what you do. And that's what the power, the 30-day guide power is designed to do. So I hope that you can join us. And then, by the way, for all our Spanish-speaking, right now it's available in English. It's on Amazon, but by the end of September, you will be able to find your copy of the 30-day guide in Spanish. So para nuestros televidentes que hablan español.
Ah, that's awesome.
Yvette, so you were talking about the creating, I guess, the belief system after repeating it for 30 days. So I guess, is that because we can say it out loud, but we don't necessarily believe it as we're saying it? So
you have to, you've been believing something for decades. Saying it once, or just saying it, or changing this, or just, I would say, saying something over and over again changes your belief system, and you're saying it to yourself. And you've created a statement that you believe. And the affirmation and the attitude in the book, what we do is not only state that I am powerful, but state why you're powerful and what you want to accomplish with that power that day. So you see, there's intention by the language that we're creating that day. So it's not just saying I am powerful today. No, I am powerful because I want to accomplish this, and this is what I want to do with my power.
So it's a process.
It's a process.
And your book takes a person through that process and guides them for the next 30 days on what to do.
Absolutely. And my goal is that by the time the 30 days is over, you can start this all over again and keep doing it. Because we're erasing decades of language and negativity that has been poured into us. And we've stored gladly. And then the other part too is we gave it praise because we believed it. So it's to break all that down. And it starts with you. It's about your personal leadership and you leading you through your success.
Well,
People can also follow you on social media, right, Yvette? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the pages that you...
You can follow me on Twitter at Yvette Mayo or Yvette Mayo. Everything is under Yvette Mayo on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. You can also join our Power on Hills network. And all of you, I'm always doing events here locally in the Houston market to empower women. And on October 13th, we will have our Latina Issues Day. And if you join us on the Power on Hills network, you'll see more and more information about that. But it's great conversations about things that are going to make you more powerful. They're issues that we're dealing with today. And we're going to have an amazing conversation. And I will have a special guest that will be there with us that day. So it's a wonderful day. So please join us on the Power on Hills network so you can get more information so you can join us on October 13th.
Definitely follow the social media pages to stay on top of everything she's doing.
And you have a website. It's called I Am Yo Soy. Yo Soy I Am.
Yo Soy I Am. Or you can also go to YvetteMayo.com and to follow the information I do. I speak at conferences and events. And then, by the way, this particular book, I am super excited. Next weekend, I'm headed to LA. The James Edward Olmos association called Latino Literacy is having their award for Latino writers, not only in the U.S., around the world. And the Power on Hills is a finalist in the self-help category. So I'm heading to L.A. to claim my prize.
Well, congratulations.
I'm speaking it.
Yay.
Congratulations.
I'm a winner.
And lastly, you also have some cards, some
Stationery.
stationery. Is it stationery or
Yes.
what?
You know, the creative spirit continues to grow, so please go to yosoyexpressions.com. They're Latina-inspired note cards. They're in Spanish, English, and Spanglish. Everything from muchas gracias to let's do amiga time. It's a great way to celebrate and honor those special events and those special people in your life. It's a way of just using our language and our and just our art form to celebrate those special days in our lives. So please go to yosoyexpressions.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Yvette. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate you being here and all the information you provided.
Thank
And
you.
please keep us posted on all of your future events.
Yes, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, I just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you that we are here every Thursday at 1 o'clock talking about real estate and bringing just different people, artists and business people from the community. Of course, if you're looking to buy a home, you can always call me. My number is 832-878-1255. And if you want to contact Sonia, your
SoniaRivera.us is my website, or you can find me on social media pages under SoniaRivera.us.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Programa pagado y las opiniones emitidas en el mismo no representan la opinión de CBBA Radio ni de sus patrocinadores.